All right, so it's been a little while. I love doing some reacts to Inside Star Citizens, but there hasn't been a super interesting one in a couple of weeks, a few weeks, however long, I don't know. But today we're going to get to see a new ship from an alien manufacturer that's been around for a while in concept. And it's kind of funny, we've been waiting for the big cargo hauler from Gatac for a while, and now it's looking like a straight to flyable is going to come and swoop in and take the spotlight. So this will be a first ship from a new manufacturer, an alien manufacturer, and the first ship from a new, well, yeah, just a lot of new. I'm interested in seeing how this goes, though. Let's check it out. Welcome.
The first time I saw the concept of the Syulen, I immediately went over to Ben Curtis and asked him if I could make it.
By yourself?
By myself.
Michael Oberschneider did the Raylan, and I scouted a lot in his old sketches and the first phase of the ship, and I found a pretty nice triangle sketch, and that's where we started from.
We really wanted to have this feeling of grandeur. It's a relatively small ship, but all its kind of stylings and its shape, language, and forms really are there to make it feel strong and impactful. And so we really tried to kind of push that as much as we can.
Dude, that is such a different silhouette than we are used to. Very interesting. A lot of mystery there. I love it. I love the, you know, people have been saying we need more unique kind of not traditional designs for ships in this, and this one has a interesting look to it. I like it.
Push that as much as we can. The Gatac Syulen is Gatac's introduction to the civilian...
What is that? Did you say Syulen? Syulen?
The Gatac Syulen is Gatac's introduction to the civilian space market with a essentially starter ship from an alien race. It's kind of really defining what that manufacturer is for us. It has everything any player needs to take their first steps in the universe. It can carry cargo.
Hold on. You guys are not getting audio? Why aren't you getting audio? You should be getting audio. Tell you what. Here's the thing. You guys won't be able to see me, but I will go ahead and I'll show you the Chrome tab. That'll probably give you the audio. You'll just have to miss out on my face. Oh no. 1 second. All right. Let me go ahead and restart it. Let me know if you guys are getting audio here.
Gatac's introduction to the civilian space market with a essentially starter ship from an alien race. It's kind of really defining what that manufacturer is for us. It has everything any player needs to take their first steps in the universe. It can carry cargo. It's got onboard living quarters and a good selection of weaponry for a starter to not die immediately when you get out into hostile space. When the player first sees the
What
Syulen,
is this? This is I love it. I'm really digging this. I don't care really for the design myself. Like, it's not a favorite of mine. I just love how unorthodox it looks.
and we really wanted it to feel kind of just super imposing. It's got this amazing stance where it's kind of towering above you.
The Syulen is almost this monolithic structure that will appear in your hangar, unlike anything you'll have seen before. It's very dominating, almost Sith-like, dare I say it.
With its vertical design, it looks completely different to any other starter ship that we've brought out before.
You'll notice it's a very polished ship, very deliberate with all of its forms and shapes, but then when it comes to its mechanical structure, it's not like our manufacturers like Origin, where it's very high-end but exposed almost, more like Drake. So you'll see all the mechanisms, all the inner workings. As you approach the interior of the ship, you'll notice a little button on the side. You press that, and the wall of the exterior will cascade down into a set of stairs.
You'll be greeted by like this crazy...
Dude, I love the animations that they do when they get a hold of hover stuff, because it's like, it doesn't actually have to follow any rules. They can just use whatever physics they feel like and just be like, it's alien stuff.
Will cascade down into a set of
So you
stairs.
could just make dope stairs like that. I like seeing the Xi'an stuff. I'm glad that they're starting to really dive deeper into the more alien aspects of this. This is good compared to something like, I don't know, the Santok Yai, which I'm sure we'll see within a day or two. It is very alien as well, but it still has a more traditional sense than something like this, you know?
You'll be greeted by like this crazy Gravlev sort of animation where the sort of wall fractures and spreads out. Something rooted in the Xi'an lore about their trivial use of Gravlev tech, and just to be able to see it like sort of do something crazy that we can't do with most of the ships is really cool.
As you enter the ship, you'll be in what we call the airlock, or the ground floor, kind of like an engineering space. All the walls feel quite clean.
It's like almost exactly Nomad sized, sort of the same entryway as a Nomad.
Quite sleek.
You'll get quite an unusual sense of the place because of the rock materials that you've got going on that feel very alien.
Honestly, dude. Oh my gosh. Could we see like... I feel we went over this, what was that, yesterday? 2 days ago on stream when we looked at the old concepts for the Xi'an architecture, and we were like, hey, this looks like a kit bash of like Halo Covenant and some other sci-fi stuff. It was you guys can't see this in the live. Sorry for you guys watching this on Discord, you can't see what we're looking at right now, but this was like really old visual conceptual stuff that they made for the Xi'an and like the ships that they wanted to make, and you can see that it translates pretty well from the stuff that they had back then. I think this is 2017. The stuff that they had back then for this, like overall the design language is pretty spot on, but man, the stuff that they're putting into the game, I think it takes a little bit of a different dimension. Probably just the purple color. Get me with purple and I think it's related to the Covenant.
Kind of like an
This is, oh man, it's hitting some nostalgia. I like
engineering space. All the walls feel quite clean, quite sleek.
You'll get quite an unusual sense of the place because of the rock materials that you've got going on that feel very alien when you walk onto a spaceship.
All of the walls, the panels, fly out, separate, and reveal.
Wait, do that again.
All of the walls.
Oh man.
The panels fly out, separate, and reveal these crazy big component bays, an armor locker, and also a really cool weapon rack that pops out the wall using that cool grav tech we spoke about.
Dude.
In between two of those components.
Can I like commission Crusader to get that in my C1? I don't want this ship, but this stuff looks cool, man. Now this is what happens when, like, this is how all of the ships that we know from olden days, from days of yore, they're going to get these kinds of cool updates. You know, a little sliding thing on the cutter, the light on the C1, or the Drake. Like, a lot of that stuff's going to get added when these ships get gold passes. So when you see this stuff on new ships, doesn't mean that your ship might not get something like this. They just need updates. Tech debt, yum.
Really cool weapon rack that pops out the wall using that cool grav tech we spoke about. In between two of those component bays, you'll notice the lift embedded into the floor. It's got a really cool glass floor to it, and you'll notice a nice hover plate of Xi'an text, which we've kindly translated into English for you.
We wanted it to feel like it could be inhabited by both Xi'an and human. That was kind of like a design ethos we had. So you'll go on the elevator, which features both.
Do you hear that elevator noise? Sound like a throat.
That was kind of like a design ethos we had. So you'll go on the elevator, which features both.
So once you use the lift to enter the habitation deck, you'll notice a really nice small space, quite simplistic, but that's kind of like how the Xi'an like it.
The Xi'an are very close to nature. We wanted to create
honestly, I like the freaking use of rock in here. The natural... It's cozy. Man, I think I would like a Gatac. I mean, I don't like the exterior of this ship, but I really like the interior. I could do with maybe a little bit more light. I'm gonna have to hit up Morph and see what kind of architectural light adjustments we can make to this, but like, I'm actually a fan of this interior style from Gatac. It's a little bit like Spartan, you know, feels like it might be cold after a while. Maybe I can throw a pillow somewhere.
The lift to enter the habitation deck, you'll notice a really nice small space, quite simplistic, but that's kind of like how the Xi'an like it.
The Xi'an are very close to nature. We wanted to create this sort of like cave feeling in a couple of places. That was in the bed, and that's a really nice little area for you to lie down at the end of a journey.
Kind of like a hab almost, like the way it kind of is embedded into the wall. Still comfortable though, I can assure you.
It's a lot warmer, a lot more inviting, yet through its materials, it still feels like a bit alien. On your left, you've got a bathroom.
You're talking to Lloyd about the bathroom, right?
I mean, look at the animation, dude. If there's anything that screams alien, it's
A bit alien. On your left,
this.
you've got a bathroom.
doors and segments.
You're talking to Lloyd about the bathroom, right?
The bathroom is, you could say complicated. I would say amazing in terms of design. It's definitely over-engineered.
The first thing you will
Wait,
notice
is the whole theme of a IAE purple because of this ship? That can't just be it, right? I guess it's probably was an easy pick. I can't imagine the whole theme might have changed for a ship color, but it works very well. There's a lot of purple in this ship.
is this silver sink almost on the left-hand side.
Which will serve
Oh, that's a
two
urinal.
purposes if you know a little bit about Xi'an lore. So
That was not a ship. That's not a ship or a sink, right? That's not a sink. They're messing with us, right? I think they're messing with us.
On the left-hand side.
which will serve two purposes if you know a little bit about Xi'an lore. So Xi'an poop a little bit differently to humans.
Okay.
So they use that, we use our toilet. The whole door breaks into a load of pieces. The toilet roll holder sort of assembles itself.
With the most elaborate animation I think that's ever been put into a video game for toilets.
And again, it was just sort of a show of what's trivial to them is like elegance and high-class design to us.
Toilets are the new doors.
It was just a nice little feature. We wanted to incorporate that sort of how they would live if they were on the ship and how humans would live on the ship.
As you go up into the cockpit, you then have a full open space.
What I like to call the
Whoa.
cathedral.
As you go up into the cockpit, you then have a full open space.
I'm sorry, Asperia. Our relationship is over. Gatac's the new cool alien manufacturer. I'm sorry. I guess Asperia is not even an alien manufacturer, guys. You're getting called out by the traditionalists here. That's good looking stuff. Yeah, I feel like I could probably control all the citizens of Hurston from that chair.
What I like to call the cathedral.
Wow.
The light cascades down and you see the seat
Oh
presented
my
to you almost
god.
like an
And the way it lifts you up.
altar. You enter the seat and you float up on your back, almost like you're about to launch into space on a rocket.
Whee!
And this massive mechanism of plates assemble behind you using Gravtech to hold.
Oh my god, that's so ridiculous. These people. Oh man, you tell them make a cool sci-fi universe and they're like, you know what? Okay. I love it. It's great. I always wondered to myself, like, if we saw a spiritual successor to Slave 1, who would make it? Didn't know it'd be Gatac. Granted, we don't know what kind of weaponry this thing has, but like, really all you need to be a spiritual successor to that ship is just launch from your back, right? That's all it is, right? No. But this is a cool ship. I like the design and the philosophy behind it. I'm probably never gonna fly one. I'll ride in one and maybe tractor beam one around and throw it into a space station or something, but cool ship nonetheless.
Your seat in place. Really makes you feel like a badass just before you take off.
One of the best experiences in the ship is when you sit in that pilot seat and it kind of transforms and the ship moves around you to kind of put you up into a position within the canopy. With most of our ships, you sit horizontal to the gravity plane, whereas with this, you're sat on your back, kind of facing straight up to the stars.
The
Dude.
world is a completely different
my
angle,
God.
and it gives a
Wait, guys, they have not introduced our new landing UI. How the heck are you supposed to land the ship in first person and not feel like a derp, dude? Oh my god, everyone's gonna have to go third person to land this thing, right?
completely different feel to the ship.
For the art team, the vertical takeoff was great. It was one of the things that we were like super keen on getting in from the very start. It may have caused a few headaches for some of the other departments that we work with. There was quite a few people that kind of doubted whether or not it was going to function.
Wow.
But visually, it gives such a nice kind of silhouette to the ship.
I like the fact that we were applying a very traditional technology in space exploration to something so advanced.
Flying it is one of those things, the first time you take off in it, your brain has to do a bit of recalibration compared to every other ship in the game.
If you look at the stars, you will see them going from up to down and not from left to right.
Fundamentally, you still fly in the direction you're pointing.
It's really cool, just the silhouette of it. I think it's nice to see some weirder sort of ships like this. Just every time I see it, I'm like, yes, different.
It's just that you land and take off essentially 90 degrees to what you are adjusted to. If you throttle forwards, you go up, but that's the direction the ship is pointed.
Obviously, Xi'an used Gravtech quite a lot, and we wanted to make sure we leveraged that as much as possible. However, for things such as wings and thrusters, I think it's really important that we keep that to a minimum. If something's heavy, like, we can't rely on gravity to keep it on.
It has probably the most amount of maneuvering thrusters, I think, of a ship of this size, 24. That is simply to make it one of the most agile starter ships in the game and to cover the...
Did he just call it a starter ship? Dude, this thing is huge. Starter ship? Like, you're getting more than the Nomad with this, right? I think even without looking at the numbers, this thing is, size-wise, you're getting more space than... Wow, okay. We'll see.
Required maneuvering angles on a ship when it transforms. So once you've taken
Where are the control surfaces too? This thing's gonna drop out of the sky if you don't move.
off and you retract the landing gear, the ship transforms slightly into a more expanded state. The three main thrusters change angle, the wings change angle, and then this requires the maneuvering thrusters to sort of compensate for that. So the amount of thrusters the ship has allows it to be pretty agile regardless of state, regardless of atmosphere or space.
Oh, I prefer the vertical takeoff compared to the normal. It's just a completely different feel and you can land in tighter spaces.
My favourite part of the ship is definitely the way it transforms out of landing mode into deployed. All of the wings fold back, so the landing gear is actually built into the edges of each of the wings. At night, it's even cooler. All of the headlights move around because they're all animated on part of the wing, and so does the light pop out of the end of the landing gear, which lights up those big pieces.
Landing it requires a little bit of adjustment compared to
Ridiculous detail. Good lord.
traditional flight in Star Citizen. You deploy your landing gear as you would, the ship transforms, the landing gear comes down. But instead of landing on your belly, you essentially land on your behind.
It kind of gives the nod back to some of our classic kind of modern day space shuttles, but it kind of gives a real unique experience on takeoff and landing.
It takes a little bit of getting used to, but the payoff is just the way the ship flies and the silhouette of it and just the unique feeling, making it feel really alien compared to our other ships.
Definitely got that.
So being the first ship from...
Yeah, the look is just very different. I keep saying it over and over again, but I can't... The Raylan already looked really weird, but I think this one looks even a little bit more irregular. Nice to see a ship like this coming into the game, especially one that's supposedly gonna be, I don't know, he says starter ship. I feel like maybe he means the starter alien ship. I'm not sure, but good to see even a small ship getting these kinds of weird designs for newer players to get into and not have to work their way into later on in the game.
The manufacturer Gatac that people are going to see in game. For me, it was really important that it had a real impact on the player.
I think players will appreciate the fact of how much we've managed to fit into such a small platform.
So the Syulen is pitched as a starter ship, but it sort of goes beyond some of our other starter ships. It has a lot of onboard living, so it allows you to do a little bit of exploration, a little bit of pathfinding. It's not as good as dedicated explorers or pathfinders, but it is sort of better than other starters.
Again, keep note there, because this is something that actually came up in my stream earlier. You don't need to have an exploration ship to do exploration gameplay, and he's laying this out right now. This isn't an exploration ship, but you can wiggle into that, just like you can do other things without a ship that's defined specifically for that thing.
In that regard. The big unique factor of the Syulen is simply the visual style, being an alien ship.
I think we've not had very many opportunities to really show off what we can do with our alien races yet, and so this for us was a real opportunity to really distinguish that ship from our more human manufacturers.
The overall feel of the ship is far, far different to any other that came before it.
We tried to build a bit of mystery on how this thing works. It was quite exciting to try something different from the usual way we did spaceships.
The concept is completely striking, unlike anything I'd seen. Obviously, being a fan of vehicles full stop, regardless of whether they're a spaceship, ground vehicle, real or fictional, seeing this was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before, and I was desperate to be part of the construction of it.
Compared to our other starter ships, this is something entirely different, both flight and visual, and that sort of sets it apart from the others. If you just don't want to be run-of-the-mill Star Citizen player, then the Syulen is for you.
If you're an extra Star Citizen, then you're a Syulen pilot. You guys notice how they're starting to use some of the music from the squadron music that was in CitizenCon? Because now they're allowed to, because we've heard it. I feel like they've just unlocked like a whole nother set of songs that they can throw into different things, which is nice because the music was really good. I hope somebody can data mine that and get more of it for us, because these tracks are so good. Yeah, so that was the first half of ISC, probably all about the Gatac. This next half is probably going to be kind of like an IAE special sort of thing. I really do hope that they give us some proper information here, though. Let's see what they've got for us.
The Crusader Spirit C1 is the cargo variant of the Crusader Spirit series.
Okay, so I guess they're just going to cover the C1. Well, let's see what they've got for us.
It swaps out the bomb bay, the central section of the ship, for a large cargo hold. It fits some of our ground vehicles in it, and it's really very much a purpose-built kind of cargo hauler. Just did a whole thing on the A1 at CitizenCon. It's basically that, but just with cargo. No. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Like,
Nope.
Come on, man. We got 10 minutes. Fill it up. Tell me more. Convince me.
The Spirit C1 is the cargo hauler of the Spirit family.
This is Crusader Industries' Cutlass competitor.
Its closest competitors are the Cutlass Black and the Freelancer. They're all roughly about the same size, the same cargo capacity. Compared to our other cargo ships in the game, this sits in sort of the lower half of straight cargo capacity. Certainly compared to some of the other Crusader ships like the Starlifters that carry a huge amount of cargo, this is on the lower end. You can put 32 SU cargo crates in there, or you can put vehicles in there. It's not a dedicated vehicle hauler, but there are a lot of vehicles Cyclone-sized and below that will fit inside it. It utilises that central room to essentially be stripped out and filled full of cargo, and it can carry them internally, which affords that cargo some protection. So compared to, say, a Hull A, which has the same cargo capacity, you are trading off the...
Dude, that is wild. I didn't know that fact. The Hull A is tiny compared to this thing. I didn't know they had the same cargo capacity. That's actually going to be an incredibly interesting experiment to run. A ship of the C1's caliber compared to the Hull A, like running a cargo run through different star systems with either ship and seeing how they fare differently. Because that's a big ship compared to the Hull A.
The quick access of being able to put it on the outside of the Hull A for the security of having it on the inside of the Spirit.
For the styling of the Spirit, we try to keep that Crusader DNA in there, so it's all very like sleek, continuous paneling with like little pockets of like high-tech greeble in there.
It's a lot like the Starlifter in visual style. I'll try to take all the good elements and fun elements of that, compact it down into a not a small area, but a smaller area. So I stripped down the bomber variant of the Spirit, stretched out the floor detailing from the rear, especially the tracks, to make it suitable for vehicles to get in there. Made some big areas on the side so you can fit the really huge SCU containers on there. The walls, they've got a very specific shape, and that is so that those big containers can fit in there without hitting the edges. We're trying to keep that Crusader style in there as well.
Yeah, I always talk about like the Crusader, the hallways, the circular doors, and the lighting kind of all remind me a little bit of Knights of the Old Republic. I think the Ebon Hawk sort of has a little bit of that styling, and I feel like I'm moving ever closer to that as I jump from Crusader ship to Crusader ship looking for the right one. I think I'm almost there. Something a little bigger than the C1. Not quite MSR sized. Getting there. But I do like the C1. I think this might be my new daily.
It's got some fun lighting in there to show off all the bits and gubbins.
It's all very nicely sandwiched.
You say nicely sandwiched?
Nicely sandwiched. So you've got like the bread, which is like the nice paneling, and then you've got like the filling, which is like all the nice black greeble. Greeble sandwich.
Being a Crusader ship, the Spirit C1 is an elegant cargo hauler. It looks fast, it is fast.
It's well armoured, well armed for fast transport of that valuable cargo.
So on the exterior, the main difference...
Honestly, the fact that it's missing a turret, in my opinion, really hurts it. I don't feel safe flying this ship, really. It might be a testament to my own combat skills in the pilot seat, but not having the ability for someone to cover my back if we do have someone following us, it's not even a sense of I feel like we can beat someone with a turret. And I think this is what they're kind of going for with turrets. It's more just a sense of security and more of a deterrent to help you get away. Which I guess is the point of a turret. It's more defensive than anything, but this doesn't have any. And that leaves you feeling defenseless. So this would probably be the kind of thing you'd use more in like a safer system when you're doing cargo transport, as opposed to maybe using a Zeus Clipper, which I think does have a turret, does have a couple turrets on it, and would be better off with a couple more, an engineer as well as a turret pilot. So those are like the subtle differences that get built into these ships that they have to build the game to accommodate at some point, but is sort of the goal of what they're doing with all these ships.
On the C1 versus the other variants is we've cleaned up the top of the ship.
You'll notice that the roof kind of switches out. So the C1 has more of like a sleek, like simplified roof.
It's a little bit more aerodynamic.
So to help you load cargo in and out of the ship, especially those larger cargo crate sizes, there is a tractor beam turret on the rear of the ship that can transform from being on top of the ship to help you grab cargo to around the underside of it to help you actually physically load it into the ship and arrange it onto the cargo grids within.
When we think about variants, I think
works pretty well mostly, but with the larger boxes and with vehicles, it can be a little bit weird.
I think it's personally important that we're not just talking about kind of a loadout change and a tin pallet change. For me, I think the more we can do with both the interior and the exterior to really sell the idea that this is a separate ship is kind of super important. With the Spirit, we've made some changes to the exterior and interior, as well as the normal loadout changes. And that, for me, just adds a little bit more value to what we class as a variant ship. It's not a case that we can always afford to do that for all of our ships, but where we can, that's the way we like to go.
This thing's gonna look so good in black, oh my gosh.
You've got the colourless black for the Drake owners who like doing Drake things. You've got the Freelancer for the working class of the universe. And then if you want style and speed, then the Spirit C1's there. And you'll look a lot cooler doing it too.
Yeah, that's why we fly, to look cool. Oh, right, the Storm. And I guess the SRV too. They're just doing a 3.21.1.
So one of the big questions we always get is, what changed from the concept and to the production model? And I think really with the Storm, Alberto just kind of nailed the concept from day one.
I'm not going to say that in public.
The concept is so good.
Because my concept was so good.
I feel like he threw in the eyebrows, man. You're throwing a little extra on there, a little sauce.
What? Why? That's so cringe.
It's ISC. That's why we're here.
The Storm is a light tank from Tumbril that values speed and agility over raw armor and firepower.
Tumbril Storm is a light scout tank, a single-seater.
It's the Nova's smaller sibling. It's fast, it's light, it's still heavily gunned.
It's very agile, good for recon. You can cut...
Okay, but is it? Because I'm hearing this thing is not as fast, or it doesn't have as high a top speed as the Nova, which would be very strange. So I hope they go over that today.
Through canyons like a motorcycle, or you can go off jumps, and there's plenty of clearance for the player to be able to really let it rip and enjoy the terrain.
Visually with the Storm, we really tried to kind of push the futuristic feel of Tumbril as a manufacturer.
I think the overall design feels very much like the Batmobile from the Christopher Nolan universe, and I love that look about it.
I think with the Nova, we played it fairly safe with the kind of the art style and the overall forms. Whereas with the Storm, we really want to do something a little bit new, show that Tumbril could not only deliver kind of advanced weaponry, but visually they could kind of advance what they're known for. The big kind of selling point of the Tumbril visually, for me, has got to be the tracks and the track covers and those whole pods. They really kind of help to add a feeling of dynamic movement into the vehicle.
So compared to the Nova, the Storm...
It is great looking. Now, I'm not going to get into the idea of what makes a good tank or a bad tank. We're playing a space video game with a certain level of science fiction hand wavium that you either have to accept or just kind of always be angry about. Obviously, there are design elements that are going to make some of these vehicles not as smart. And I think this Storm has some that, from my perspective, seem like they'd be a little bit weird. Like, I would not want to be shot in the front of this tank. But at the end of the day, it's a freaking cool looking tank. And I think that the laser repeater actually makes a difference from something like the Nova's cannon when you consider being able to storm like a ground location with this thing. After playing with it in game, I can understand a little bit more how it would be used than just looking at the concept. But I still think this needs to prove itself and definitely be faster than a Nova in order to make sense. So we'll see how they balance it.
Storm has quite an interesting enter-exit mechanic. So the whole front of the tank opens up in some sort of mouth-like contraption.
The whole front of the tank opens up and the seat kind of comes down and it kind of swallows you in.
The player sits on the seat that is presented to them and then is cocooned back within the ship.
When you kind of get sucked into this seat and the doors all close around you, it's just quite a unique experience.
It's kind of like you're wearing it.
You could say it's kind of like you're wearing it. Yeah. It's kind of got that feeling of a mech, but just the head. If you want to wear a tank, the Storm's for you.
Tank head?
There is no walkable interior compared to the Nova, so it is literally just you cocooned within inside the front of the tank.
And I think that really helps to make the vehicle feel super safe and secure when you're inside it. It gives you a lot of confidence that you're sat in something that's super strong. And
dude, just look at this view. This looks really cool. Okay, the tank out that view looks like a cinematic from like a Modern Warfare game or something. And I'm just thinking of, now that we've seen what we've seen of Squadron and we know that they can present these things as being very cool, crunchy sci-fi experiences, I'm just thinking of all the scenes they're going to set up in the single player. I mean, I'm all for Star Citizen, don't get me wrong. But the stuff they can do with these assets in Squadron 42 is going to be very cool. I also hope that they can set those kinds of things up for us in Star Citizen, but obviously with an MMO it's harder. But yeah, it looks cool. Like, there's a lot of rule of cool going on with this tank in particular, and with other things in the game.
And robust.
The driver controls the gun and everything aboard the vehicle, whereas the Nova can operate with one crew, but it is best operated with 2 or 3 to share the load between all the additional weapons. For ground operations, they're designed to work in tandem together. The Storms to push ahead of the main ground force, to do some reconnaissance, figure out where the enemy is, figure out their strength, engage them if they are engaged, but then the Novas will take over to do the actual heavy lifting of the damage and engagement.
If you're looking for more speed, more maneuverability, the Storm kind of sits in a good spot where it's not quite a Cyclone and it's not quite a Nova, but it kind of sits in that middle part.
The gun is really cool. That took Nathan a couple weeks to come across, but as like one of his first projects with us, I think it was super successful.
Originally, it was supposed to be shooting bullets. We converted into an energy weapon after the fact. It's just more expensive to fire bullets. I think when it comes to a laser repeater, dollars to donuts, you know, shooting energy is much more cheaper than shooting bullets and twice as effective, so.
Yeah, the tank's small. It makes sense that it didn't have all the ballistic ammo that you'd need to lug around in there, because you'd probably lose your inventory, other storage for components and stuff. Ah, the anti-air. Oh, that looks kind of cooler, not gonna lie.
It trades out the bespoke top-mounted turret for a fixed missile array. It contains a very large amount of size 1 missiles and a selection of size 2 missiles.
You can now fire more missiles on this than anything else in the game.
That's a lot of missiles, and also like completely craps on the whole, they would have to lug around a lot of ballistics argument. Could you? I mean, I guess, you know, it's not the same as storing bullets in the bottom, but this thing's gonna run out of effectiveness kind of quickly. I guess he's got a lot of size 1 missiles that can sit out there for a while.
Currently.
So we're still working out the final numbers for this at the point of recording, but it's safe to say it has a lot of missiles.
So all at once you can fire a huge payload at your target.
You wouldn't want to be a ship near that thing because it has so many missiles.
Oh my god, that looks so cool. Like, I feel like I've seen, I guess they're probably trying to replicate war footage we've seen of stuff like that. This looks sick, but Jesus, reloading this thing. We need the Vulcan.
Payload at your target.
You wouldn't want to be a ship near that thing because it has so many missiles.
Jump town.
We try and envisage all the ways players are going to use these vehicles. We're always surprised by what ends up in reality. So I think players are going to have lots of fun with this at sort of ground location like Ghost Hollow.
It is a light tank. It is pretty quick for a ground vehicle, but it still feels really strong.
Whilst the Storm is essentially as wide as the Nova, limiting it to being able to be carried in some ships, it is much, much less tall than the Nova, so a lot of ships, such as the Carrack, couldn't fit a Nova, can fit a Storm. I expect to see Storms popping up a lot more all over the place.
What else, though? What else besides the Carrack? Like, are there any other ships that benefit from this over the Nova?
Popping up a lot more all over the place.
Nice. They've actually presented this very well as sort of a new vehicle showcase. Usually when they do this, it's a little bit more not as well presented as this. Then that's consistent with CitizenCon too. They've changed something.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that the Tumble Storm, or as I like to think of it, the tank that you wear, is arriving at IAE this year and bringing with it an all-new anti-air variant. That the Spirit C1 joins the fray, hoping to give all those Cutlass and Freelancer mains out there a pretty stylish glow-up. And that tomorrow, Xi'an manufacturer Gatac tells the entire universe to hold its carrion and rotted leaves as it introduces a brand new starter to the mix. I could really use a nice 3D printed full-color mock-up here. Wouldn't it look good? You know? If anyone's asking. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you. And we'll see you all here for IAE Part 2 next week.
Nice. Yeah. So, you know, maybe they did present it this well before, but I feel like this was well done, and I don't remember it being so I don't know, so fluid in the presentation, but this was good. I like the C1. I like the Gatac is gonna be. I gotta get hands on that. I gotta check that out. I'm gonna start working on a video on that because I think their design is doing some fun stuff lately. I don't know what the angle is yet. I'm gonna watch this again, but cool presentation of ships. Pretty solid stuff. Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye.